Well, from before they start the business is the right answer. And I'll talk a little bit too about the organization I'm in, if I may. It's called SCORE. It's a national organization, and it's free mentoring. So if I'll want this message to get out there, because if I would have known about this when I got started, it really would have helped me out.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Ken Kostecki, out of the Richmond, Virginia metro area, is a real estate investor and owner of Maison Construction and Renovations. He's active in short-term rentals and outside of investing and construction, helps give back as a volunteer business mentor to help others grow and scale their ventures. You can find him at MaisonRVA.com. That's MaisonRVA.com, or on his Instagram at MaisonRVA. Ken, thanks for taking the time today.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
I always like to start off at the top of this show by asking guests how they got started in investing, but you're also active in construction as well. So which came first, the investing or the construction?
Well, I would say probably I looked at every property that I owned as an investment. I know my family says that I'm a different breed, right? They're like, why can't you just look at a house as a house? But I don't know. I've always had that mindset to where anything that I had, I wanted to maximize the potential out of it. So when I owned my first house, I bought my first house when I was 24 years old. I bought something that was a fixer-upper. Um, and I learned by doing. I had some experience, just my parents were handy. I built sets for school plays in high school. I worked in a hardware store, Menards Hardware in the Midwest. I'm originally from the Chicago area. So I kind of took that experience and along with, just learning as I did, to sort of look at each home that I owned along the way as an investment. So, I don't know. I don't know what you say came first, right? So they kind of go hand in hand with one another in that regard.
Now, when we talk about different segments of real estate, right? You've got STR, midterm, long-term, year-to-year leases. You've also got like multifamily, and people are doing pad split now, and all different types of different ways to cash flow. I know that you're
Yeah.
active in STR. Was STR, the first investment outside of your personal residence? How did you get into the STR space?
Well, the STR, honestly just have one STR, but I have 6 other doors that are long-term rentals. So I have 4 single-family homes and 2 duplexes. So, and 3 of those units came first. I actually, honestly, a little personally, came out of a divorce, was in a situation where, I had the money from selling the house and I was living in an apartment, and it was right during the pandemic, right when they started handing out checks. And I knew that inflation was going to happen. So I said, well, I don't want my money sitting in a bank. I want to get that out there in some sort of concrete asset. And I've always wanted to do real estate investing and have some rental properties. So I was afforded that opportunity to do that. I found one listing that was listed just on the market and was working with a realtor. And it turned out that owner had two other properties that he was looking to sell. They just happened to be occupied, so he hadn't listed them yet. So I ended up buying all three properties, and that's kind of how I got started. So it was a great opportunity. He was looking to get out of the market. He was moving out of state, had some other investment opportunities he wanted to get into. I ran the numbers, and the numbers looked great. So I pulled the trigger on all three of them, and that's how I got started.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Well, that's a good way. That's a good way to get going. Did all three of
Yeah.
those become long-term rentals?
Yep. They're all long-term rentals. That's right.
And those are single family? I know you mentioned a duplex in there as well. Were all
Correct.
those single?
Yeah. The two of them are single family and one is a duplex. Hmm.
Okay, so first three investments, two single families and a duplex. When I hear folks talking about the on ramp into real estate investing, there's a lot of ways for people to get in. You really jumped in and bought three at
Right.
once, right? Was there a reason you said, "Hey, I'm gonna become a full time investor," or was this you saw an opportunity and you said, I'm gonna run with this and see where it goes"? Did you have an idea in your mind at that time that this would be something that you would grow and scale?
Yeah, I think so. It was something that I always had in mind, but again, getting a little personally, that opportunity wasn't afforded to me for multitude of reasons in my relationship. So obviously I'd gotten on the other side of that and kind of said, all right, now finally is my opportunity to do what I've always wanted to do, start building wealth for myself and investing and growing that. And so nothing was holding me back at that point. So I pulled the trigger and went full force.
I want to pivot a bit here and ask you about your construction business. And I
Yeah,
was
sure.
looking at additions. You guys do additions.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the construction space and contractors, really anywhere, but definitely in the East Coast, there's a lot of competition, right? And so, is there a segment of that space, whether it is additions or another area within construction, that you specialize in?
Yeah, I think it would probably make sense too to talk a little bit about our value proposition and why I got into construction. Because the other interesting thing was I never actually worked for a construction company before starting one. I had a whole nother career in the plastics industry. I've got an engineering degree, so I worked in plastics and rubber as in manufacturing, in R&D, and then got into technical sales, and I got my MBA along the way too. So. Um, I kind of wanted to get out of that just because the corporate world, and I was beating my head against the wall
Yeah,
dealing
yeah,
with that and decisions being made that I had no control over that made absolutely no sense, and always had the entrepreneurial spirit. So, when the time came, I'd actually started putting the wheels in motion and start studying for my contractor's license, and I got laid off. So at that point, I kind of said, all right, I was kind of like on a 6-month plan to kind of work in that direction. And I just said, well, again, I'm just going to go head first and go full force into this. And I haven't looked back. And the reason why I picked construction is, again, there was a market niche and a need. So I had so many friends and myself too who would work with contractors. And it was so hard to find someone who was responsible, communicative, organized, professional, um, and just did good quality work that you could rely on. So I had other people looking at my work on my personal properties that I had renovated, and they said, "Man, you really should do this." And so I kind of looked at it, and said, "All right, I've got the technical capability. I've worked, in a white collar sort of environment with project management and customer service and marketing and sales. I've done all those things, but I'm also not afraid to get my hands dirty, right? So um, I can tear a house apart personally, and I've done that. So I know the right way to do things and I know the wrong way to do things. So I kind of package all that up, the sort of white collar background with a blue collar mentality and the ability, and it kind of meshes very well in the construction industry.
If you're looking for consistent, high quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
I want to ask you specifically, pivoting a bit here. Um, when you are a contractor, there's a license to be a contractor, right? But there's also a
Right.
lot of people that I've seen throughout the country, and I'm licensed in Texas as a realtor,
Yep.
who may be operating without a contractor's license, and I'm not exactly sure how this happens, right? But uh,
Yeah. Right.
from what I've seen, you can certainly do certain things without running it by the city, but other things, if you're gonna do a brand new home, they're gonna stop that in its tracks. You can't do ground up construction. But how are people operating without a contractor's license? It seems like there's enough of those people where at least it's on my radar.
It's a good question. I mean, I guess you could do anything without permission and take that risk if you want to. It's not something that I would suggest anybody do. I did it the right way. Again, I mentioned right when I got started, I looked into everything that I needed to do from, licensing to insurance to, everything on the business side of things to make sure my business was set up and stable from when I started. But that's not the approach for everybody, obviously, and I can't really speak to that very well of why people do that. I guess a lot of people don't have the business acumen or the background or the professional sort of approach to it, and then that's what you find a lot of, right? And that's what I think gets a lot of people into trouble is you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
carpenter who's worked for 20, 30 years, his body's breaking down, he knows construction, but he doesn't know anything about business and running a business. And as you know, running any business, 80% of it is running a business. It doesn't matter if you're an expert in any area, you have to know how to run a business and do that effectively to be successful.
I was just having this conversation with a tax strategist yesterday about realtors and what realtors think. As a realtor myself, I was getting a kick out of it. Like, hey, my gym membership, is this a tax write off? I've got to be able to be presentable. So when people talk about the business side and accounting, tax strategy, keeping your books. But then also, growing and scaling your business so that if you are away from the business for a period of time, that it doesn't just fall apart and collapse, right? These are, things that everybody, I think, in the real estate space and service providers to the real estate space like yourself should be talking about. I want to pivot and ask you about the volunteer work that you're doing, helping folks grow and scale their business.
Absolutely.
Um, when we talk about aspiring real estate investors, business owners in general, I think a lot of people don't approach their business like a business until it starts making like a substantial amount of money to where they can, in their mind justify going through some more of the hurdles to maybe legitimize their business further. But at what point in time in your mind should people start looking at their business as a business?
Well, from before they start the business is the right answer. And I'll talk a little bit too about the organization I'm in, if I may. It's called SCORE. It's a national organization, and it's free mentoring. So if I'll want this message to get out there, because if I would have known about this when I got started, it really would have helped me out. So but basically, you can go on to SCORE and request a mentor. So you put in what your business is. It could be at any stage of your business. You could be just have an idea, actually being starting that business or developing that business. We get people who are doing apps or product ideas. It can be anything. And there are people who are experts in pretty much any area, and they'll look at what your request is and try to align you with a mentor who fits your needs. And that can be within your region. There's people, local chapters everywhere. And most of the ones that I do are in person, but they can also be, through a video call as well. So if there's some specific need that you have, that you can connect with anyone throughout the nation and the organization, which is great. So anyway, just a plug for SCORE. It's a great thing to be able to have, and so I recommend anyone, to do that, because you don't know what you don't know, and that's where a mentor can help you. We're not a business coach.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
There's a delineation between that, but at least it's a resource that you can ask questions, and you can learn from somebody else who's gone through a lot of those things, and they can basically tell you the things that maybe you don't know. So that way you're setting up your business the right way, so you're going to be successful. Because what you don't want to do is invest a whole bunch of time, a whole bunch of money into something and not think of all the unknowns and get blindsided somewhere. Because as you know, there's a large percentage of businesses that don't make it past year 1 or 2, and it's all goes back to the business planning side. And that's where SCORE comes in, or just any business mentor for that matter. So, or just doing your research.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about having someone to reach out to, I think that in and of itself can save people a lot of a lot of headache, heartache as well, because you know being able to have a second opinion, bounce ideas off someone who's more experienced than you are, right,
Right.
is pivotal. And I think that's really the power of networking. And as a realtor and as someone who's worked a lot with investors myself, I feel like, yes, you do, of course, need to understand the X's and O's and logistically, your business, but you also need to be spending that time on building strategic relationships, because that can, be a buyer in a future deal. That person could be a reference source for you. And I can't tell you, I'm sure you have the same experience where it's as much, if not more so, the people than it is the knowledge as well.
Yeah, it's really important to surround yourself with a team. If you don't have the answer, you need to have someone to go to who will have that answer, whether it's a mentor, or you need a bookkeeper, accountant, uh, lawyer, whatever it may be. All those different areas. If you don't have expertise in those areas, you need to find that expertise and have someone who can answer those critical questions or even do those tasks for you.
Is there one shortfall that you see commonly for folks who are in their first year or two in business? Something that newer business owners should be doing that they're not?
I think it all goes back, honestly, to improper planning and not knowing what you don't know, right? Again, I see the most common thing is people have an idea, or they're really good at a skill, but they're not a business person, right? So they don't have a proper just a proper business plan, whether it be from sales, marketing, pricing, advertising, um, considering cash flow, and not knowing the unknowns. Like we talked about licensing and insurance. To have those things in place and to understand the costs of all those and your overhead. So that's what I see most often is, again, just going in and getting blindsided, or not having the cash that you need to be able to, basically carry yourself for the first year or 2 until you can build your business and start getting the consistent cash flow that you really need to make it a long-term thing.
Yeah, I mean, people think, especially in the real estate game, that they're going to have an overnight success,
Right.
and maybe that was maybe more feasible 6 years ago, but right now it's
Yeah.
difficult to have some faster exits, and I think we're seeing that not just in one segment but in multiple, right? And where I'm licensed in Texas, it's harder to flip. If you're a fix and flipper, it's just a
Yeah.
little bit more challenging, especially when you've got new homes that are $240,000. It's tough to compete with that. But in general, I think this idea that the fast money is truly the slow money, right? It's simpler to wait and to see, long-term appreciation
Mhm.
than it is to try to have a quick exit. And I think we're seeing more and more of that.
Well,
But we are actually
mhm.
coming up on time here, though,
Okay.
Ken. Um, any new projects that you're working on, or how can our audience reach out to you or your team?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as far as projects, we love doing home additions. Within the city of Richmond in the area, you can now do auxiliary dwelling units, ADUs, so you can build a tiny home in the backyard. In fact, we didn't really talk about it, but my short-term rental is uh, an Airbnb property in my yard. That's what I'm sitting in right now. So if you want to rent this property, I'm sure you can look us up. Um, it's the Little Sanctuary if you're looking in the Richmond area. As far as my business for Maison Construction, like I said, if you want to do a kitchen, a home addition, or build your own short-term rental or ADU property for your personal self, you can find us at www.maisonrva.com or give us a call. It's 804-337-8100. I will pick up the phone. It goes right to me. So be happy to talk to you about any project that you have, or you can just submit a project inquiry online. There's a button for a project submission on there. You put your confirmation or your information in there and the details of your project, and we'll be reaching out.
Ken, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.